Hello and welcome to this quilting video. I'm Olivia and today we're talking about hand quilting and machine quilting. I'm sitting here on this beach, it's a long weekend, and I brought this quilt down here with me to finish up by hand. While I do that, in this video I'm going to share the top 6 things to consider when you're deciding how to quilt your quilt. It's not always as easy as, oh, I feel like hand quilting today, or oh, I'm just going to do this one on machine. So by the end of this video you'll know exactly how to assess all your options and choose your quilting strategy for your next quilt. So the quilting is what keeps your quilt together. You've got your quilt top, you've got your backing, you've got batting in the middle, and the quilting is what secures it all. The number one thing to think about is the quilt's final intended use. The more a quilt is used and the heavier or rougher that use is, the more likely it is that machine quilting is the way to go. The heavier the use and the more day-to-day action that a quilt gets, and the more opportunity there is for a quilt to get damaged, and it's going to need to be washed much more often. Washing can be hard on quilts. There are ways around that, and most quilts will be just fine thrown in the washing machine every now and then. But if you're making a quilt for a baby or a little kid and it's going to get dragged through the dirt and have juice spilt on it and it's really going to be used, then you need to make sure that your quilting is going to hold up to that. Even if it's not a kid quilt that'll be used quite so hard, but it's just a quilt that will live on your bed for everyday use. That's something that needs to be able to take regular washing and the consistent wear that comes with everyday use. So machine quilting is generally stronger than hand quilting, it's generally tighter, so it's less likely to get caught on something or snagged and rip a stitch by accident. On the other hand, if you're making a decorative quilt that you plan to keep folded up on a couch somewhere, or it's something that's going to get much more minimal use, then hand quilting could be the way to go. In a case like this, hand quilting would be fine because it doesn't have to stand up to quite the same level of wear. So next, the second thing to think about is the quilting's intent. Not the finished quilt, but the actual quilting. Do you want it to just be functional and get the job done, keep your quilt layers together, and that's that? Or do you want it to be its own design feature that you want to highlight? If you just want simple, functional quilting, then you may as well just go with a machine. It's going to be quicker, it's going to be faster, and you're going to have your finished quilt ready to go much sooner. But if you want the quilting to be more of a feature, then hand quilting might be a good option. Hand quilting also gives a very different texture to your finished quilt, so that should be a consideration when you're planning and thinking about the finished result. At this point I should probably say that when I mention machine quilting, I'm talking about your little domestic home machine quilting on that, not a long arm. I know long arm quilting can also bring a completely different element into your quilt, but I've never used a long arm. I have nothing to contribute on that topic really. So here we're just talking about domestic, small home machines and hand quilting like I'm doing now. Whichever method you pick, the density of your quilting and the pattern you quilt is going to make a difference. And so will the thread you choose. The color and the thickness or the weight of the thread can really impact the finished quilting. Now obviously the color of your thread isn't dictated by whether you're hand quilting or machine quilting, but this is a good time to plan out that aspect of your quilt. The third thing to think about is time. This is kind of the easy one. How much time do you have before you need the quilt finished? And also how much time do you want to spend quilting this quilt? Hand quilting is always going to be slower compared to the same amount of machine quilting. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes a longer ongoing project is exactly what you want. So in that case, hand quilting is definitely the way to go. But if you're on a time crunch, like there's a birthday or a wedding coming up and you need to have a present finished in time, then the machine is going to get you there much quicker than a needle and thread. And there's really not a lot more to say about that one. Time is easy. It's probably the first thing a lot of people think about when making this decision. Number 4 is when and where will you quilt this quilt? Right now I'm sitting on the beach, so obviously the machine was not an option. Hand quilting is the only way to go if I want to work on this one right now. Yesterday, driving down from the city, I wasn't the one driving, so I got a bit of quilting done as a passenger in the car. If you've got a road trip coming up and a relatively small quilt, then hand stitching the quilting is a good way to spend a long drive. Even if you're at home, there might be things going on around you that should influence your quilting choice. If you live with other people or in an apartment with crappy soundproofing and you like to quilt late at night, then machine quilting is probably not the way to make friends. Maybe you can use your machine, but you don't really want to. I know a lot of quilters like to have a long-term hand-stitching project to work on in the evening while watching TV or while spending time with family. So this one could be a logistical consideration. Do you physically have access to a machine right now? Will your neighbors complain if you use one? Or it could be more of a free choice. Either way, the when and the where of your quilting project is going to impact your quilting options. Now number 5, the fifth thing to consider when choosing whether to hand quilt or machine quilt is just what do you like doing and which do you feel like doing right now. If you don't like machine quilting, then don't do it. If you hate working with a needle and thread, then don't do it. This is a hobby, and if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point, right? Some people love the slow, methodical, contemplative nature of hand quilting, and some people love tuning out to the hum of their sewing machine. Whichever it is that you like doing, then that's probably the one that you should be doing. Quilting has a lot of different steps, and chances are you don't love every single one of them. Online it seems like a lot of people hate basting. Some people don't enjoy cutting or trimming blocks or any of the other steps that you need to do to make a finished quilt, and that's fine. It's just quilting is such a big and long part of the process that it shouldn't be something that you just endure. Try each method out, see which one you like and in what situation. I do both and I like both, and having both strategies up my sleeve means I can always choose the method I think I'm going to enjoy more at that time. I have one more bonus thing to think about today when it comes to choosing hand quilting or machine quilting, and that is that you don't always have to choose. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You might have noticed as I've been hand quilting today that this quilt actually already has some machine quilting done. This is a baby quilt, and I didn't really trust my hand quilting to hold up over time on a baby quilt. I also wanted a project to bring away with me this weekend to work on by hand. So during the week I got this guy basted and I machine quilted a few lines here and there. Not as much machine quilting as I'd usually do for a machine quilted quilt, but just enough to be functional, to keep my quilt layers together, and to give me a base to add some hand quilting onto. Now I'm adding these hand stitches today, and it's creating a fun dichotomy of the two together. I get the benefits of both, the strength and the speed of machine quilting, with the handcrafted look and contemplative time spent hand quilting. And I don't get the downsides of either, so it's really the best of both worlds. So there you go, 6 things to think about when you're deciding how to quilt your next quilt. Let me know if this video was helpful to you, and let me know how you decide what quilting method to use. Maybe you have a different strategy to me, or there's a different factor that you take into consideration I'm not considering and I should be. Let me know, and thank you for spending time watching this video today. I'll see you next time.